see a cheap copy, you guys pick it up because it's interesting. It's about the last tour, and um, it's just really interesting stuff. And how the other three guys are mad at Alice. Glenn Boxton didn't give a rat's ass, but the other three were mad because everyone thought Alice Cooper was solo, and they had no idea this was a final tour. I think Alice kind of did, so did Shep Gordon. But they because they kind of hint that they're talking about they want to do Alice wants to do Broadway, and Michael Bruce says he can do a solo album. Alice ruins the songs. It's very interesting look, but anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a crazy story about when they all split and what they all try to do. I mean, that $1 Billion Babies Battle Axe record is okay, but it's not great. And the tour, they like bankrupt themselves trying to do the tour.
Yeah, they did what, 2 shows or something crazy? Yeah.
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 Did you ever get any Michael solo records like on my own and then what is it? The second one's called Rock Rolls On.
Yeah, I've got one I've got one of them on CD when they reissued it, and then he put out a live album called Halo of Flies, which is
I've got that live in Iceland.
Yeah, which is really weird.
That's really good. That's really good.
It is good, but yeah. As far as the solo material and $1 Billion, it's like Dick Wagner, even though he was part of the solo. When you hear solo stuff, you can see what Alice added to it. Even though Dick Wagner had a group called
Hey, Manny, I got a great idea. Let's start the fucking show.
Oh, yeah. Never mind. Go.
Oh, is the topic Alice Cooper tonight?
No!
Yeah.
What do you mean, no, it's not?
For my dead body.
It's time for Red Salad Review with your hosts, Wendy, Greg Narrow, and Lou Maddox.
All right, welcome to Rat Salad Review. Hey, we got a lot of people on tonight.
Hey, where's Greg?
Oh, Greg who?
Yeah, where's Greg, man?
Greg who?
Where's Mr. Greg Noggle?
Oh, Noble. I don't know. Who cares?
Oh,
probably stuck at work again.
Go Blue. Is that a rainbow shirt?
yes.
That's cool. Where the hell did you get that?
Rockabilia.com.
No, well, I'm gonna check.
Not that I'm plugging, I'm just saying it's where I got it from.
Probably got it.
No.
And Wayne, I heard you. Yes, I did shave. Unfortunately, the goatee was growing quite unruly. I don't grow my beard as sexy as Mr. Stan or Mr. Tony Dio here does. So yeah, the bitch had to come off.
Got a beard.
It'll come back.
It's kind of hey Lou. It's kind of funny with the beard. You kind of look like Peter Dinklage. Without the beard, you look like Josh Gad.
Wow.
Get him off the show, Wayne. I hate both those fuckers.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. We got Tony Dio here and Stan on the show. Thank you guys for coming on.
And thanks for having us.
Stan's usually the guy behind the scenes helping us with Severed Angel videos and stuff like that. So now his face is finally revealed, and you can all, head to the bathroom and throw up your brains, and that's what it looks like. You can't help it.
In all honesty, he did a wonderful job directing the Through the Eyes of Time video, and he also directed the In the Red and Attachment Unavailable videos. So Stan, thank you for that.
Yep. Yeah, my pleasure, man.
Yep. Been around for a long time. Friends with you for quite a while now, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah. And,
has it been like 20 years yet, or
no, not that long yet.
Not that long.
No. And yeah, again, thank you, Tony, for joining us. And we're gonna do our favorite live albums. And I guess Greg's gonna join us, but he'll join us whenever. I don't know. If he comes, he comes. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Show must go on.
Well, that's what I
Um,
tell my girlfriend. If I come, I come. When I don't, anyway, continue.
you know what, Stan? Since this is the first time you've made your appearance on this show, I'll let you go first.
All right. I was talking to Wayne earlier today, and on the topic of live albums, has anyone actually attended a show that was being recorded for a live album?
I have.
Yeah.
You have, yeah. I actually attended a Dio show 20 years ago that he recorded for
This one, right?
Evil or Divine. Oh yeah, Wayne's got it.
That was at the Roseland Ballroom, correct?
That was at the Roseland Ballroom.
Such a great venue.
I think Hammerfall and King's X opened up.
That's a
Yeah,
killer show.
I saw
That's-
that tour.
That's
Yeah.
a weird bill too. Like it's kind of random, like Hammerfall and King's X.
Yeah, it was, but it worked. I mean, I saw it at the 930 Club in DC, I think, and it wasn't really well attended. I mean, you think about the period that was.
Hmm.
Now it'd probably sell out. I mean, of course, if Ronnie hadn't passed or whatever, I'm just saying, of course, it would sell out now. Everybody's like, "Wow, we're going to see Ronnie
How about the
Diaz,
hologram, though?
We're
Yeah.
going to see Ronnie. We're going to see Ronnie's
The
zombie
corpse.
Ronnie. Yeah, but I mean, it was a good show. I just remember when I got there, first I ran into the drummer for Hammerfall. What was his name? The guy.
Oh, Anders Johansson.
Yeah. And I'm just like, hey, man, looking forward to seeing you tonight. And he goes, hey, you want to come upstairs and drink?
Really?
Like he's looking somebody to hang out with. So I was like,
I love
yeah.
them
So
Swedes.
Yeah.
I met the bass player outside the venue, and he just gave me his card. That was it.
Yeah. Did you call him?
Yeah. So it was a good, it was pretty random, but it was a good show. But I kind of forgot about it and just didn't make my list. But anyway, live albums are something like that I don't really listen to because it's kind of hard to tell like what is truly live, with all these overdubs and whatever else that's being done, in post production. But having said that, I picked a couple that I think have the least amount of overdubs. So
Just
I'm gonna start with
your first one.
yeah, I'm gonna start with
one at a
Maiden.
time. Yeah.
I know like there's Live After Death, and that was when they were at their peak,
Mhm.
and everything. And the set list was amazing.
Here's
Yeah,
your
he's got
pop-up
the-
art. Pop-up
Yeah.
art.
Yeah. I love
But-
that album. Even though Ralph
One-
hates that one, I like that.
One live album that I feel is not really as appreciated is Beast Over Hammersmith.
Good choice.
That is a
So-
good show. Really is.
I mean, Bruce is like fresh in the band,
Mm-hmm.
and he sounds absolutely like the rest of the band. He sounds absolutely hungry. He sounds really aggressive, and the number of the beats didn't even come out yet for I think a couple of weeks. So these songs were like really fresh for the band. Like they weren't playing, Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, Hallowed, hundreds of times at this point. But it's just and they sound so fucking good here. Like it's fast, it's energetic, it's very lively. It's like you could just tell like they were on a mission. They were very young, they were very hungry, they were very they're out there to make a statement. And of course Clive Burr. I love Nico, but Clive Burr just sounds absolutely phenomenal here.
Agreed.
Great drum tone. I love the sound of the snare and everything. And the production sounds really clean, but it's not too polished. There's no overproduction happening, and there's no crowd enhancements or anything. It just sounds raw. It's raw, it's aggressive, and most of the set, is comprised of just the Diano stuff.
All right.
And you're hearing Bruce kind of just tackle these songs for like the first time really. And he sounds amazing, bro. Like he's really gritty and he's really aggressive. And I just like I think like by the time like Live After Death happened, like he just kind of like maybe he felt a little burnt out because you could kind of hear it a little bit. I mean, the one thing that Live After Death has over Beast over Hammersmith is the set list.
Right. You got
The
more
set list is just,
Dickinson songs, yeah.
it's amazing. I mean, they're touring for Power Slave, which is, probably, the best Maiden album, at least in my opinion.
Well, let's not go there.
All right. But still, I think Beast over Hammersmith is pretty overlooked, and it's in my top
I
favorite live
I
albums.
think it is.
It's
Didn't
good.
they-
It's good.
I think the only thing that could top it, in my opinion, is Made in Japan, but that's only got 5 songs on it. If you have the American version, you have the European version, it's only got 4. So, but
I
yeah,
honestly never listened to it because I bought the Number of the Beast, and it's got the Beast over Hammersmith on the other side.
Mhm.
I haven't even listened to this yet.
Dude,
it is
Phantom of the
available for
Opera,
streaming, Wayne.
Yeah.
It came in a box set as well, the Eddie's archive set.
Oh, so
Mhm.
all right. So all right. Yes. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So I have listened to it. Yeah. Okay.
You
Yeah,
know,
Phantom of the
um,
Opera sounds fucking
that's where I
wild,
got
bro.
that.
you know,
Yep.
that show is it's filmed as well, and
Mhm.
that's the
Mhm.
footage that you see on the home videos and stuff. And I found out years ago, I actually interviewed Bruce Dickinson in '97, I guess it was, when Accident at Birth came out, his solo record. And I asked a question about, because at the time, Live After Death had come out on CD through Capitol, and they omitted side 4 because they had to get it all on one disc, because they didn't put it out as a double. And I asked him a question about why they didn't include side 4, making a double CD, which like a year or so later, I think Castle did those double reissues and you got everything. But he said that show was originally filmed, which we find out later. And he said they didn't release it. That side 4 of Live After Death being from the Hammersmith show is from that same show. That's where side 4 comes from Live After Death. It's a different show. It's not Long Beach. And he said that the reason they didn't release the video, it was too dark.
Mhm.
And I guess by the time the Maiden documentary came out and they released it or whatever, they had found some technology to lighten it up a little bit or whatever. But at that time, they just didn't release it because they said it was just way too dark, because it was supposed to come out on home video.
Interesting.
It's interesting.
And he
how
had a cold. He had a cold, by the way, supposedly when they recorded Live After Death. That's why he sounds so
yes.
burned out.
Oh, okay.
They were also like
Okay.
almost a year into the tour, and by then his voice was shot. I know Ralph has mentioned that on on his podcast many times as to why he doesn't like the album. And yeah, it doesn't capture his best performance, but the band sounds great.
Hmm.
That was one of the
And
first
like you
Maiden
said, the
albums
set
I heard.
list. Yeah.
Set list.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
And,
awesome.
it is. And you bring up technology about film. I mean, that's the cool thing about living now. There's a lot of footage from Jimi Hendrix or the Who or even the Beatles that was unusable till technology came along. You can clean it up. So, definitely the Doors and Jimi Hendrix estate has definitely taken more advantage of that than most artists. But then they have more money than most estates do. But it's interesting that you brought that up about the footage, Tony. I love Live After Death because it was
We always
live
remember this.
albums are a big thing in the 70s, but 80s. But in the 80s, not so much. And they had it seemed like it had the cool on vinyl. It was really cool. You got the graphics and you got the book and it felt like an event album. It just didn't feel like just another live album thrown together. So I think that's another reason why it works for me. It's a great choice.
Yeah, you get a tour book. I mean, that was another good thing about live albums. I mean, you go to Kiss, for instance. I mean, they're the ones that pretty much started it all with that. You got all the stuff you got with it. I mean, that was just so cool to get extra stuff. It must get a poster or a booklet or something like that with it.
It's
Yeah,
also
and-
really weird hearing, songs like, Run to the Hills, like somewhere up in the beginning, near the beginning of the set.
Hmm. Yeah, because
Because you're so used to hearing it as like the
It's
set closer.
encore.
and It's just so odd.
Yeah.
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 Good choice,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that one because
I didn't either.
I, you know,
You said it.
it's so new. It's still so new to me, you know.
All right, Tony, you go next. Go ahead.
So you know, I picked top five, and I've got a few honorable mentions, but yeah, it's like I said, yeah, I've always loved live albums. You know, it's kind of a greatest hits, but you get so you get all the best songs, but you get a different version. Sometimes they're played at a faster speed, or they make little changes in it. I've always
And
always
little jams
loved
in
that.
between songs and stuff. Yeah.
Love that. You know, now I'll tell you two bands that I love, Rainbow and Deep Purple. I'm not that crazy about on stage or made in Japan because it's just too jammy. It's
too jammy. Yeah.
I mean, you get like one or two songs per side, and it's like this long improv solo. Now I can watch it on video, and I'm happy watching it because it's cool. I've got something to watch, but just listening to it just never done much for me. But so I'm going to go. Probably my first choice is going to be my introduction to Ozzy and Ozzy era Black Sabbath, and that was on "Speak of the Devil" from Ozzy, which this is my European one where it's called "Talk of the Devil." And there's the single for "Symptoms of the Universe" and "Iron Man, Children of the Grave." But man, I love this record. And I know a lot of Sabbath purists, especially guys that are a little older than me, that grew up on Sabbath. They hated this, you know, because I've had some people say it sounds too 80s. And you got Brad Gillis's take on Tony Iommi. And Gillis had like a couple of weeks to learn this stuff. Now he said he grew up listening to Sabbath, so he was familiar with a lot of it. But it's kind of like he put a Van Halen type style on Sabbath. And it's just because he doesn't sound like Iommi at all. But man, I mean, the rhythm section, Tommy Aldridge, Rudy Sarzos is kicking ass on it, man. And I mean, it's great. I mean, that's that. Like I said, it was my first you know, exposure to Ozzy era Sabbath. I knew Ozzy and I knew Sabbath with Dio at the time, but I got this and just, you know, started just falling in love with Black Sabbath songs, you know, because my first studio Black Sabbath record was Black Sabbath's Greatest Hits. And I was like, God, this sounds old. You know, I mean, you think about it, it was like, we're talking about like 1983, 84 here. And this stuff was recorded like 10 years earlier or 12 years. And it seemed like 500 years to me. It seemed like this ancient times. But it, you know, over time, I just started to appreciate those original versions. But man, this is just such a smoking record, man. Brad Gillis is just killing it on this album. I mean, yeah, it's just Ozzy sounds cool on it. And you know, I've got a bootleg of the two nights they recorded at the Ritz in New York City to make this album. Second night is pretty much what we know here. What we've heard. And I've listened to it. I know every nook and cranny, every little lick that Brad does, everything. And when I listened to that second CD, I was like, this is the show they used. There's one little screw up in it that they fixed. And they went in the studio afterwards and re-recorded all Ozzy's vocals in the studio because he sounds like crap on the original. But first night, he actually sounded pretty decent. Second night, he was blown out. He sounds really rough. And Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is on this, and that is not performed live. They actually did it during sound check.
Oh wow.
And I met Brad a few years ago at the M3 Rock Fest when Night Ranger played, and I was just grilling him on this stuff. And he said, they just went in and redone Ozzy's vocals. That's all they had to do. And the bootleg's really cool because if you're familiar with this album, Ozzy's got a lot of stage banter in between. That's another thing I love about live albums. Some of the stuff they'll say, the stage banter. They left everything in, and because he's a lot of profanity that they ended up cutting out. And because if you're familiar with this album, there's parts where you could hear Ozzy saying stuff in the background. It sounds like it's been faded out.
Yeah, they dipped it.
Actually hear him. Yeah, because I guess Max Norman went back and pulled stuff out. But he's like, one part of that, he goes, "Anybody want to buy a watch?" You know, I always thought that's what it sounded like in the background, and you can hear it clean as day on the bootleg. But yeah, this is such a good album, man.
Which track was that?
I can't remember. It's like in between songs. It's who knows.
Anybody want to buy a watch?
Yeah, just kind of a related story. I didn't throw Live Evil in here, and I like Live Evil, but I think the remix of it that came out recently is much better. But there's a part in there where there's a part in there where if you're familiar with Live Evil, there's right before I think they do Heaven and Hell, Ronnie says something like, "That's a good platform, man." And me and my friends used to joke about that. That's a good platform. And when I met Ronnie, actually, first time before I even met him, I did an interview with him over the phone, and I asked him what that was. And he was like, "I don't know. I've got to go back and listen to that," because then he tells me that whole story about the engineer being drunk and mixing the album and screwing up and everything. So who knows?
Yeah. Whose side do you take in that debate on who tried to sabotage Live Evil? Tony's or Ronnie's?
I think it's both sides were guilty.
Yeah, a bit of ego there, a bit of ego.
Yeah. I agree with Tony, but I also heard Dio and Iommi in interviews years later blamed the engineer for being coked up. So who knows?
Yeah, Ronnie's like, the guy would go in and drink a bottle of Jack Daniels every morning before he started, or whatever, every day before he started. So whatever.
Oh, it was David Lee Roth.
Oh yeah.
Funny you showed that album, Tony, because that's my first introduction to Ozzy and Sabbath.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See,
my grandfather gave me that record.
Your grandfather?
My grandfather gave me that record.
Man, what a cool grandfather.
He didn't like he didn't like Ozzy or anything. He just he did a lot of yard sales and he got a lot of records to sell. So he just found it in the stuff that he had.
And he goes, "This guy's got something in his mouth waiting like this."
Yeah, that's what was pretty much what he said. Yeah. he said, "This looks like something you would listen to." So
like Schmucker's Jam.
Apollinaire All Fruit.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Before I give my opinion on the albums, Dan and Lou, what do you guys think of it?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Speak of the Devil. I used to be scared shitless of the cover when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then around 1990, I got it on cassette because, I was such an Ozzy fan and a Sabbath fan. And, I wanted to increase my cassette collection, which I don't own any cassettes anymore. And, that was my first foray into Symptom of the Universe. So then I went back and discovered Sabotage, which was the next cassette I bought. And to this day, it's still my favorite Black Sabbath album.
Mine too, Lou. I love that record. It's my favorite Sabbath.
Cheers to you, sir. So yeah, no, I love the record. I mean, I love Rudy and Tommy as a rhythm section. And at first I wasn't too crazy about what Brad was doing because I was such an Iommi purist and a Randy purist. But as a guitar player, I really grew to appreciate the nuances of Brad Gillis's playing. So, especially this stuff that he did with Night Ranger, you had a lot of techie guitar players around that time, but I don't think a lot of them had the same soul that Brad had. So I really give him a lot of credit now. And I love that record.
Nobody plays Children of the Grave like Brad Gillis. He does that little harmonic thing.
Yeah, Randy didn't even do that.
Nobody does that, man. It sounds so cool.
Dan, what about you? What do you think of it?
Honestly, I haven't heard it. So
okay.
Yeah, but I wasn't, big on Ozzy that much, to be honest with you. So
gotcha.
Well, I'm not big on Ozzy now, so I meet you there.
I'm probably the oldest guy here, and I'll be 55 in May. So I was 12 when that came out, and I already was listening to Sabbath. I mean, I think I'd only been listening to music for maybe 6 months. I mean, I was like 12, so it couldn't have been that long. But I remember not liking it that much. I didn't say it sounded 280s because I was living in the 80s, but I remember not liking it that much. I didn't like what Brad Gillis is doing. I didn't know the story. I didn't know that he only had 2 weeks or 2 minutes to learn to set. Now I know that. I'm very impressed. Now I appreciate the album, but at the time, granted, I was a little kid, I just preferred the old Black Sabbath. And I think the reason I liked it was the reason Tony mentioned, because to me, even though those albums are only like 12, 10 years old, they sounded like they were from another time, because nothing sounded like that. And I liked it. And it sounded nothing like Live Evil, which I loved, which you would think I wouldn't because Dio's singing the Aussie stuff, but I love that. Anyway, I now like the album, but at the time it was a brand new release. I owned it but I didn't love it. So,
Lou, what do you got?
So for my first pick, I'm going to say Scorpions Tokyo Tales.
Tapes.
My
Tokyo
first
Tapes.
Did I say Tokyo Tales? I'm sorry, that's Blind
You're
Guardian.
thinking of Blind Guardian.
But that's a good one too. That's
Yeah.
a very good one too. That's one of my honorable mentions, actually. Thank you, Tony.
Tokyo
Yeah.
Tapes is great.
You know, it's funny I mentioned that because I just interviewed Herman Rarible yesterday, which I'm in the process of editing that and ready to post on my channel and the Razzle Review channel. And you know, I explained to him, I said, you know, my first live album from the Scorpions was Worldwide Live, which a lot of us kids from the 80s remember that one. And then we, you know, discovered Live Bites. But then all of a sudden, like, I go into my local CD store and I see Tokyo Tapes. And I'm like, hello, what is this? And Scorpions with Uli John Roth is my favorite era of that lineup. And In Trance is my favorite Scorpions album. And I love Taken by Force because I think it's their transitional album where they started to become, where they really started to become the Scorpions, you know. And Tokyo Tapes is sort of like that hybrid album that showcases where they came from to where they were going. And I'm really glad that they had the lineup that they did on that, which was Klaus, Rudolph, Francis Buchholz on bass, Herman on drums, and Uli on guitar. And much credit to Uli John Roth for fulfilling his obligations as a member of the Scorpions and leaving after the tour was over. And you know, they just didn't say anything about it, but I really think it speaks a lot to him as a person and as a musician. And his playing is just simply fire on this record. Yeah,
Hold on, this is still in the 70s, right?
This is
Like
78. Yeah.
So Michael Schenker was out of the band at this point?
Michael Schenker was out of the band in 73. Then he came back again in 78 and he left in 79.
All right, so he's not on this.
He's
album
not
at
on
all.
this record. No, he's on the next studio album, which is Love Drive. And I love Shaker, don't get me wrong, but I prefer his stuff with UFO or MSG. I mean, he's only got 2 studio albums with the Scorpions, so I mean, it doesn't really count. It's like saying Dave Navarro is your favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarist. It doesn't count. Anyway, all right, nobody got that. All right, never mind. Moving right along. Yes, I love the Scorpions Tokyo Tapes.
Great.
Yeah,
Anybody else want
great
to talk
album.
about this? I hate the Scorpions, so
I know
It's
you
a-
do, but I don't.
I really love that album. I think it's great. Now I'm just like you, Lou. I my first one was you know, was the Worldwide Live was the first live album. And actually the only thing I even had before that was Love at First Sting and Blackout. So I was familiar with songs from those, but Worldwide Live, you know, introduced me to stuff from, you know, Animal Magnetism and Love Drive and stuff.
Mhm.
But man, when I got Tokyo Tapes, I had a friend that kept saying, you got to get into old Scorpions. He kept talking about them. So Tokyo Tapes was the first one I finally just ventured out. And I'll be honest, it was like the 90s, like early 90s when I got that. And one of the first things, I remember seeing the album cover, but I had never really took notice. But that album cover, man, is so just that live shot of the band. And Rudolph is leaned back with that flying V. And if you look, he's wearing these white high heel boots and he's standing on his ankles. If anybody's got, I don't have the record in here with me, but he's literally all his ankles are bent sideways. He's all his weight is on his ankles.
There you go.
That looks so painful.
Yeah.
God.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys could see that clearly, but
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it, man.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Rudolph used to do a thing where he'd stand on his head in the 70s too. He'd come out to a bolero, and he was a nut. He still is a nut
But
for all I
yeah,
care.
I've got a Japanese press, and it's got a flower on the front instead. But
Yeah.
it's still the same. It's still the same
Got a
booklet. It's got
rose with
the pictures and stuff in it. You know, them walking down the street in Tokyo with the kimonos on and
Mhm.
all. I just always thought that was so cool too to see.
There's
But
only
yeah, it's
there's only one thing that I think would have made Tokyo Tapes the best live album. I would have loved to have heard them do Sales of Sharon.
Oh, that would have
Yeah.
kicked that.
yeah, it's a shame that's not included on it, because my favorite one with them is Taken by Force, and with that lineup, and yeah, but God, man, that is a good live album, man. It's got everything. If you're trying to get into old Scorpions, the MTV era, that's the one to go to, because it'll introduce you to all that stuff. And it's a good recording as well.
Hey,
That
Greg, welcome
almost-
aboard.
Hey,
Hey,
what,
Greg,
Welcome, Greg.
what's up?
Big question. Did you cut your hair?
yes.
You did.
Hmm.
Doesn't look like you did.
Well, it's because I've got the Venom background and it's dark, but yeah.
No. All right. Okay.
Oh,
Congratulations.
well,
Good background there, man.
Thank you.
yeah, it is. man.
Warhead.
Yep.
That's the
Warhead.
Warhead cover.
All right,
Um,
Manny, what do you got?
Tokyo Tape rules. My first one's going to be the Who live at Leeds. I think it's the only Who album that captures them at their heaviest, at their peak. It was right as Tommy got released. The good news, and Tommy is not worn out yet like it would be nowadays, where you just hear it too much. But the original release was just one album, and it doesn't have all of Tommy in it. But I think it's great. Pete Townsend, it sounds pissed. Roger Daltrey sounds freaking phenomenal. Keith Moon is playing in some weird time signature, but it works. And John Entwistle, of course, is holding all that chaos together. It's phenomenal. Years ago, when they first put out the album, Pete Townsend claimed that he burned all the live recordings that they made to that, and what you have is what you have left. That turned out to be bullshit, because when they started going through the vaults, they've released those shows since then. But live at Leeds, I love that. I like the expanded version. I like the original version. And the original version was made to look like a bootleg, if you ever seen it.
Mhm.
And you would open it up and it had stuff in it. But to me, Live at Leeds, and it's also, to me, a very important Toto heavy metal album. So, Live at Leeds.
Yeah, it had a lot of cool stuff in it. The pages and stuff that all went in it. And when they did the remastered deluxe CD, they actually put the CD in a full album jacket. You could get it like that, the full size album jacket.
I bought the deluxe version, just the 2 CD version. And then they put out Live at Hall. And honestly, the performance that because I think it's made up of 2 or 3 performances that they just, put together. What they picked out was the best. They claim there's no overdubs. I sort of believe them, only because the Who's personalities were so, so combative with each other that, plus I can't imagine them talking Keith Moon into doing one single overdub. So, but a great live album nonetheless. So
Cool.
Greg, you're on mute.
I know I'm on mute. I'm trying to get the dog to settle down. Do someone else. Hang on a second.
Mhm.
all right, Wade,
I'll do myself. How about that? I'll go with
Do
this one.
yourself.
I'll do myself. King Diamond in concert, Abigail. Somebody mentioned Catman.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Catman
Yeah.
mentioned King Diamond and Merciful Fate. Because we were talking about videos earlier, and he was wanting some footage from the 80s stuff of King Diamond and Merciful Fate. And there really isn't much. And what there is available is kind of shitty quality, but at least we have this live album. I really like this thing a lot. It mostly consists of the first 2 King Diamond albums, but they also throw on a Merciful Fate song on here, Come to the Sabbath, which is really, really good. And I think that's one of the first times I heard a Merciful Fate song. but I love the drum solo. I love a huge Mickey D fan, and I always tried to replicate this drum solo when I used to practice drums on a daily basis. And just really, really awesome songs. And also, this is the first King Diamond album without Michael Denner, and Michael Moon took over on guitar. And this is the first album and last album he ever been on, and never been seen ever again.
Yep, he's completely gone.
Completely just disappeared.
Wayne,
from
when did
planet
that album
Earth.
Wayne, when did that album come out?
It was recorded in '87, but it didn't come out until like 1991 ish, I think.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's a.
I think
delay.
that was that might have been a contractual obligation with King and Roadrunner before we went to Metal Blade or something. Maybe I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
it was a release around the same times that like the Return of the Vampire
Oh.
and like all those because they were like on hiatus, so like all those
Yeah.
albums started coming out.
Mine's called In Concert 1987 with a slightly different cover. It's the same thing, though.
It's
right?
the same. Yeah, this is the same as I think. This is a reissue. It's one of those gold.
Yeah,
reissues.
what that is, Manny, it's just a close up of the photo
Yeah.
that's on the album cover that you've got. I've got the same one.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just a close up of King, but it's the same photo.
Same exact thing.
Mhm.
And I know you're a fan of King Diamond. What do you think of that live album,
Who, myself, me.
Stan?
Oh,
Oh, I thought you said man.
uh,
come on, Stan Lee, you're on the
I
spot.
prefer, honestly, I prefer Merciful Fate.
You prefer? Oh boy,
I prefer Merciful
that's-
Fate. What's wrong with
that's the
that?
cover. That's
Yeah.
the cover.
That's the one. Yeah.
I agree with Stan there, but I mean, me personally, this one took a while to grow on me. I hated it the first time I heard it. The sound was just not what I was expecting.
Really?
The remaster's better. The remaster sounds so much
way
better.
better. Yeah. That's when I actually found it listenable is when I got the remaster on CD because I had it on vinyl and I actually gave it away. I'm like, this sounds like crap. Like some in a Walkman next to the stage.
True bootleg. Yeah.
Wow, you had that on vinyl, Greg? Wow.
Yeah.
See, I had it on cassette, so I didn't notice anything wrong with it. It sounded fine to me.
I don't think there's any vinyl that neither Wayne nor Greg nor Tony nor Manny own. I'm sorry. I'm convinced.
Oh, there's plenty I don't own. Plenty. Wait.
You dare admit that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Tony's
Okay.
got the most in this show, at least.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Well, Tony, like me, has a background you were a college radio DJ, Tony, or just a radio DJ?
No, I was neither. I just was I wrote for some zines and I worked at a record label for a while as well. So, but I'm a collector, so I buy a lot of CDs. I got tons. This whole room is CDs, pretty much.
Which record label?
I worked at Sanctuary.
No.
We had an office.
Oh,
I live
Sanctuary
I-
BMG.
I live in North Carolina, and we had a office in North Carolina because they bought CMC Records.
I
And
remember.
CMC was out,
Thank you
out
for-
of Raleigh.
Thank
So
you for
I
at
worked
least
in the-
reissuing the Halloween albums with
Yeah, the deluxes. Yeah,
About
Even
time.
with all the mistakes on the cover art and stuff. Yeah, I know. But yeah,
Thanks on the cover art.
yeah. But no, I worked in the there. All I did, I worked in the warehouse in the mailroom there, pretty much. But it was killer. You got tons of free CDs because people were always sending stuff. It was
Oh, that would have rocked. I didn't hold on to mine when CDs are big. I got married to now my ex-wife. We started having kids, so because you can't keep everything. She wasn't bitchy about it, but I literally had tons.
You can't
of
keep
vinyl.
everything. Yeah, you're right. See you later.
Well, that's nowadays, but
that's what I did.
By the way, I know this is one band that will never release a live album because we ain't performing anytime soon.
but we
Live in the
we
studio.
never. I couldn't give away the vinyl. I would take them to record stores, and they would give me. So I would just give them away. And now, of course, I regret that because I gave away a lot of cool stuff. But
Yeah.
a few
I know
things
what you
I
mean.
kept. Yeah. But I could've-
I got rid of shit too. I just regret that some stuff cost me a lot of money to buy again. So
Same here. Same here. I'm finding that out anyway.
I mean, I'm glad I was able to buy the Black Sabbath box sets, but Jesus Christ, did I have to scrape to like find the cheapest ones for Paranoid and Volume 4? That was insane. I still can't find the early years from Def Leppard on CD. That's a crapshoot. So I gave up on
Wow,
that.
I didn't know that was. I had no clue that that one was rare.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
didn't
didn't
think so
either.
either. You know, it's weird.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Wayne sold me this killer Paranoid box set on vinyl. Unfortunately, that got fucked during the last
Destroyed.
storm, but I was
Oh,
able to
man.
save that live album. But it was really great because I guess Wayne had an extra copy. He hadn't opened it, and it had all this cool stuff. It just was really cool. And anyway, it kind of. But Wayne sold it to me for 100. Believe it or not, that was cheap.
Yeah.
Believe
Yeah,
it or not, that was actually cheap.
Mm.
Oh.
All right, Greg, what do you got now? Is the dog okay now? Everything calm
What?
down?
Huh? Yeah, it's
Don't hurt the pooch.
it's an apartment. He freaks out when the kids run down the hallway and yell. You know,
Is he going, play with me, play with me, play with me? Sorry, good help.
what, number one? Or,
No. So whatever you want, dude. Whatever you want to talk about.
well,
First-
Kiss Alive. Best live album ever, as far as I'm concerned. It
I knew
actually
one of you fuckers was going
captures
to pick
the-
that.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't gonna pick.
Well,
it.
it captures the aura and the energy of being at a
And
Kiss
this guy's
show,
got the freaking
right
8-track.
down to it.
It's on 8-track. Yeah, it's all on one 8-track. Like Kiss Alive 2 came on 2 8-tracks. This is on
Really?
one 8-track.
She's a dancer, a romancer. I'm a Capricorn. She's a Cancer. That's how it
Click,
goes.
click. Yeah. That's pretty
One of
cool.
the greatest live album covers as well, even though it was a photo session, but still, it just rules, man.
It's
So-
effective, though.
It is.
Yeah.
I kind of wish
Oh.
I didn't know that, Tony, that it was a photo session.
I think
now.
Greg was still talking.
Well, no, along with that being a photo session, though, you know, people that bitch about overdubs. I mean, I've got tons of Kiss radio broadcasts that were done truly live, and not that they're
Mhm.
not great, but they miss a lot of vocal cues because of all the
Yeah.
stuff that's going on stage. Like, it would not have the same effect if Eddie Kramer didn't work his magic, but I think
For
it's for the
sure.
better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably the most influential live album of all time. Either that or Deep Purple Made in Japan is. I'm talking just influence. I mean that thing. Anyway, Greg, what else you got to say about it, though?
It stinks. No, just kidding. Go ahead, Greg.
No, it's just it's the best ever, man. I mean, you get them when they
It's
were
a-
young,
It's the
on
best of Kiss.
fire. Yeah, it's got almost all of the best songs. I mean, we all know I love Peter Criss tunes. I would have loved to hear him do Mainline, but
Oh yeah. I don't think they ever played that live.
No.
Did they?
no, they never have. I don't even think they've done that on one of the cruises.
Man, Strange Ways. God, that would have been cool.
Oh, that would have been
Yeah.
cool.
Strange Ways right before Black Diamond would be awesome. I mean, I love 100,000 Years, but that'd be perfect in between them.
You know, I have to admit, there was a point in my life where I was listening to Alive 2 more than Alive, just because I was trying to find a reason to like it more. And there's only one thing about Alive 2 that I like more than Alive 1, and that's the picture of Gene on the front cover. Other than that, I still feel that Alive is the superior live album that Kiss ever put out. I agree.
You know, was Kiss Alive is what broke him internationally, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I mean,
So
it
who
was-
would? So it was. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
it was the first time it really captured that true Kiss sound and energy, though, because the production on their first 3 records, I mean, they're great albums, but it's not all that great.
How did they get Eddie Kramer, who worked with Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin?
Well, Eddie Kramer produced their demo that got them signed.
Oh, okay. That I knew. That's another mystery. How did they get Eddie Kramer to do that?
As
Eddie
a
Kramer
favor
wasn't
for
known-
their record label shelving the Wicked Lester album.
Oh, okay.
And you know, they Casablanca Records was hemorrhaging money at the time. Like, they needed it to be a hit. So Neil Bogart really threw the whole company behind this album.
He maxed out his own credit cards, right, Greg?
Yep.
He and Bill Coyne is both. Yeah.
the only other live album
Yeah,
I could
that's right. He
think
was. I forgot about that, Tony.
Yeah, I was Peter Frampton Comes Alive. I think that's the only other live album I know really broke a band or artist big that, as far as I know. I'm not counting
Man.
MC5. That's a debut, but
Everybody had Frampton Comes Alive. They gave it away with Tide samples.
it seems that.
Thank you, Wayne. Wayne.
I've got that on 8-track somewhere in here.
I never listened to Phantom Comes Alive. I
Me
never
neither.
got
Really?
it. I never understood. I mean, okay, I can admit he's influential, but I don't know. I'm gonna quote Chuck D right now. Peter Frampton was a hero to most, but he never meant shit to me. I'm sorry, there, I said it.
Yeah, but that
It's an acquired taste.
He just
It
wanted to
is
show you the way.
yeah,
Well, I don't
but
feel like he does.
Lou, if you listen to the
Okay.
live Humble Pie album that he did, Performance at Fillmore, you won't believe that's the same guy that is on Peter Frampton Comes Alive. It's night and day.
All
Yeah,
right,
he was-
I will listen to the Humble Pie live album then, just to give it a chance. Thank you for the recommendation.
Stan,
It's a great
number
record.
2.
All right. Not a metal band, so don't come at me, please. But
Oh God, we're only doing metal
Neil
on this
Di-
show.
It's gonna be Neil Diamond. No.
no,
Celine
Oscar
Dion.
Do live at community college. I don't
I
know.
love
Dan,
these
I think
guys.
they're
I love
non-metal
these
band.
guys, so I'm going with Muse.
I love Muse.
I know you're a
Harp.
big fan.
Okay.
Hullabaloo.
No, Harp.
Oh, harp. Okay.
Yeah. So, just like Beast Over Hammersmith, like raw, unfiltered.
Do you
This is
think?
like
Do you
this
think
is
though
a-
in this day and age though that album, that band, is going to be completely pure live without any?
actually,
I've seen them live, Wayne, and they are pretty raw.
Yeah.
yeah, not much overdubs or anything, if at all. This is a 3-man apocalypse here.
Hmm.
They got pretty like synth heavy later on, which is fine, but this live album is at their peak. It was recorded at Wembley Stadium.
Hmm.
It sounds like you are really there. I mean, it's massive, it's big. Like a lot of live albums sound shitty or they sound too polished. This just sounds huge and raw at the same time. And set list is fantastic. I mean, Muse is a band, in my opinion, that's like the perfect blend of prog, pop, and rock. They flirt with metal, here and there, but they're mostly a rock band. But what they do, amazing. Knights of Sidonia, Stockholm Syndrome, highlights on this album. So it's pretty fiery. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, the only thing harp doesn't have that I wish it does, but it is available on another Muse live album, is the song Dead Star. I would say if you
Yeah.
want to hear what Muse is like live, listen to Dead Star live, or listen to Dead Star period, because it's just a killer track.
Yeah, I mean, I love the mix on this. You could hear every little detail. It just, like I said, it just feels like you're there. It's just a great live album. So
It's funny.
definitely what else can I say? What else can I say?
I
It's
saw
definitely
them
one of my
live
favorite-
in Jersey. I
Yeah.
saw them live in New Jersey.
Yeah,
And during Nights of Sidonia, I felt like I was in a soccer stadium in Europe because the floor was
Yeah.
shaking. And my wife looks at me, she's like, "Are we gonna die tonight?" I'm like, "Probably, but this is a cool way to go out."
I saw them like 3 times, and I can't say if one show was better than the other because they bring their A game all the time, and it's just 3 fucking guys, and it's explosive. It's electrifying. It's pretty amazing, and yeah, I love these guys. So,
Yeah, Matt Bellamy is a guitar hero to me. So
Yeah.
and the funny thing is I've spoken to Alex, our bandmate from Severed Angel, and he loves Muse as much as I and Stan does. So that was pretty cool that we actually have that in common. So
In the chat here, Blues Rocker says Kiss Alive, Speak of the Devil, Unleashed in the East, Live Bullet, and Cheap Trick. And then he also says the Dokken tune Paris is Burning. Is there a live album of Dokken?
it's not a live track, it's a studio track with live overdubs.
Yeah. hmm
I was fooled too because you can't fade out live unless you're lip syncing.
Yeah. Yeah, the only live album Dokken has is Beast from the East live. That back
Well,
then they've
Oh,
released
yeah.
a few since then. Yeah, but the
Well,
original one.
there's that live, and it's supposedly recorded in '81, which there definitely was not recorded.
Oh, from
in 81.
conception.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
that was
recorded, like,
released like 20 years ago. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was like recorded in '83, '84. It had to be '84 because I think Jeff Pilson's on it, but he claimed it was recorded in '81. Like Don Dokken, you know.
Well,
It's
Breaking
kind
the
of
Chains came out under his solo name in
It
Germany.
says 81 on it. Yeah, just look.
Yeah,
Okay.
but there's
But-
no way that was recorded in '81.
But
Yeah, and
was
you would
Pilsen
know-
in the band then? It could have been.
If Juan Crucier is on that listed, then it's official. If it says Jeff Pilson, that's a lie.
It's Jeff Pilson
Yeah.
if you look at.
Then it's a lie.
Yeah, because Juan was playing bass by then. Yeah, because Peter Baltz played bass on the album on the original Breaking the Chains album.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, well, Greg said that album was released in Germany as Don Dokken, where over
It
here
was,
it's
yep.
Dokken.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's a totally different mix too. Yeah, I've
Yep.
got two. It's on Career Records. There's two different covers. There's one with Don on the front called Don Dokken, and then there's one that's got the spirograph looking Dokken logo, but in purple instead of red like the electric
Oh.
version.
I
Okay,
want to
well-
hear that original mix.
I do too. Both of you. Is it the same lineup?
Yeah, it's Baltz on bass, Mick Brown on drums, George Lynch on guitar, and Don on vocals and rhythm.
Yeah, but Breaking the Chains, my American one, has Juan, what's his name, playing bass, supposedly playing
'cause-
bass on it.
Because I think he joined Don before the album's release, but then somehow he quit. He went with Rat, and they got Jeff, but that's not Jeff playing on the record.
No, it's
Did
Peter
he
from
have, did he have
Accept.
Juan playing on the record?
On the
No.
Electra version.
He's listed, but I don't think
Oh,
that's him.
No,
Yeah.
they may have. The Electra version sounds so different. It wouldn't be surprising to me if they didn't go back and re-record some stuff on it.
Yeah, they may have pulled a Tommy Rudy gig that they did on Diary of a Madman for Breaking the Chains.
Yeah.
Just a
Well,
thought.
I think that Breaking the Chains is produced by Michael Wagner, I believe. I don't know. I don't have
Yeah,
it.
it
in front of-
is.
And as usual, we go off topic. That's why I love our show. Anyway,
That's
All right, back, Tony. Your next
Tony,
live
number
album.
2.
Next up for me, I'm going to stay on the subject that Greg started, but I'm going Kiss Alive 2 is my favorite. And I do love Alive, but Kiss Alive 2 is the first one that I ever got.
If anyone
And
says
my
Kiss
fir-
Alive 3, you're lying. All of you.
I
just
like
saying
Kiss
that.
Alive 3.
I
That was
Dude,
my
I
first
love
Kiss
3.
Alive.
You a liar. Go ahead,
love-
Tony.
I love Kiss Alive 3. I think it's great.
I
But
do too.
but this has a lot. This means a lot to me because this is actually my second Kiss album. My first Kiss album was Rock and Roll Over on 8-track, and then I got this a couple of years later on 8-track, and so I didn't get all the cool stuff in it and all. But my friend, who was one of my best friends when I was in elementary school, he had all the Kiss records. And I just remember going over his house, and man, when I saw the inside photo, that's what I put every stage show up against.
Yeah.
It was like that's just so cool for 1977, 78 or
The
whatever.
return of investment was high.
Yeah, and then it came with you got the Evolution of Kiss booklet, in it, and which I've somehow or another got 2 copies of it here. And then of course you get the tattoos came in, if you can see them
Yep.
here.
Oh my God.
You still you have
Yeah,
that? Oh,
I
that's
had
cool.
a copy of that unsealed, unopened, still sealed, and I stupidly sold. That's one thing I did stupidly
But-
sell and get rid of.
But to the music and like someone mentioned a while ago that I think it was Lou said that photo of
Yeah.
Gene Simmons is just
Mhm.
so wicked. Which
Oh,
I
it
heard
totally
that
is.
I heard they were staged as well. So who knows?
Who
But,
gives a damn? It looks great, and it made you
But
want
God,
to rock
it
out.
is. It scared the shit out of me when I first saw it. To be honest with you, when I was a 8-year-old kid or whatever. But yeah, musically, I mean, the studio tracks that's another thing. I like
Yeah, I
the
don't like the
studio
studio.
tracks.
track.
I like them. I think they're great. But the live album itself, I mean, it starts off with Detroit Rock City into King of the Nighttime World, just bam bam 1-2 punch. Just a great opening record, man. It's got Ladies Room, Making Love, Love Gun, Dr. Love. I love the whole intro, about everybody's got rock and roll pneumonia, so call out the Dr. Love. Just
Yeah, the whole time.
Paul's raps on here are just great. I remember listening to this and I Want You when he's doing the whoa, yeah, and he goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. My mom said, "What is that guy throwing up?" My parents never really cared much for my music. So.
You think mine did? Two freaking immigrants from Greece. Oh no,
Wow.
my mom tried to call me an exorcist.
Oh, really?
I said, "You touch me, I'll sue."
And the Blues Rockers
Yeah.
likes Kiss Alive 3 too.
Yeah,
So,
I
I
love
like
Kiss
Alive
Alive
3 a lot. I like it better than 2.
Alive
I've
4
never
with the
been a
symphony.
fan
That's a
of 2.
difference. Yeah,
I-
Alive
Alive
4
4
with
Symphony is
symphony's
different.
difference.
Yeah,
I do like Alive 3. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, Alive 1 blows them all away. I mean,
Yeah, well, you can't compare.
Oh, it certainly does, but 3 is great, and really, plus Kulik and Singer. That's the only
yeah.
time you get that on an official
Such
live
good
album.
stuff, man.
But
Yeah.
I like it better than 2, honestly. I didn't get 2 until way later, and I mean it's not a bad selection of songs, but it's got the studio side, and you only get songs from the 3 new at the time albums, so I was a little disappointed in it. Plus, you can kind of tell with this one that they're definitely not all from the same show. I don't know. There's some differences between songs that kind of bug me. I still like it, but it just wasn't my favorite.
Greg, there's misprint covers that say
Yeah.
"Take Me" and stuff.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't have one of those. Yeah,
I've got a misprint that has "Take Me" written on it, and I got the Japanese version, which comes with the same inserts.
I didn't get it on album until God, man, probably after I was probably in high school. I bought it at a flea market, and it had the booklet, and it didn't have the tattoos in it, unfortunately. But I remember going to school, and this guy had it, and I was like, "Hey, can I get those? I'll buy those tattoos from you." And I thought he was going to sell them to me. And he came to school the next day. He had stuck them all up his arm.
What an ass! Wow.
I'm curious
Dumbass.
if mine's in there.
Dipshit.
Highly doubt it. I highly doubt mine's in there. No.
I had a polygram pressing of it once as well, and it was a little different.
No. I don't even have that book that you had in yours.
Well, I have an extra book. I should mail it to you.
There you go.
There you
That's
go.
what you should
Perfect.
do. Because I need
I
it.
will. I'll mail it to you, man. I've got an extra. I probably got an extra Alive book or something around here as well. If anybody needs one.
I wish I would have kept that sealed one. That pissed me
Actually, I would buy an extra live book off of you if you have it, because that's the only thing I'm missing from mine.
I'll get you hooked. I think I've got an extra one. I'll check, and so we'll swap out or something. That's cool.
off.
Yeah, man. We'll make it happen.
Good.
Cool.
Thank
Good.
you.
Good deals we got going here.
Well,
Blues
I
Rockers-
buy used records all the time, and a lot of times the records are just trashed, and it's like, oh, you got to keep the goodies out of it because you don't never know when you might find another
Right.
one later.
Yeah.
You need to put it in.
Exactly. Blues Rocker says the production on 3 was awesome. Kiss Alive is my all-time favorite live album, but Unleashed in the East is about tied with it.
Ooh.
That one's high up there.
We'll talk about that later,
Yeah,
my
we'll
friend.
I'm sure we'll get there. Lou.
All right, so I just want to let it be known for the record. I love Michael Schenker Group One Night at Budokan. I think it's great. I think Cozy Powell with on drums with Michael Schenker sounds amazing. However, there is a Michael Schenker Group live album that I have on CD, which is for all intents and purposes a bootleg that I think is a little better and it's more special for me. And it's this one. The live in '84 from Super Rock in Japan.
Oh, cool.
This actually has who was the drummer from
Is it in Ted McKenna?
yes, thank you. Ted McKenna on drums. Daniel Feldman, who on bass, who ended up joining Angel. I don't know what the hell he does. Andy Nye, who was a famous pop keyboard player, and he actually co-wrote some of the songs on Michael's last studio album, Build to Destroy. And of course, you have Michael on guitar, and you have Ray Kennedy, who was a pop singer, who, if you look at him, you couldn't find a more out of place singer. And this
God,
guy,
he looked ridiculous.
dude, oh my, okay. First of all, he had a headband, he had tassels on his arms, he had a red tank top, he had a blonde mullet, he had jeans tighter than your sister's, and it just didn't look good. But his voice worked very well with Michael Schenker's music, and Michael is on fire on this record. I mean, it starts off with Captain Nemo and it goes into Rock My Nights Away. Ray's voice is a lot less gravelly than Gary Barden's. I think Gary's a great singer, but you know, this was the end of the Michael Schenker group, which is another reason why I hold it near and dear to me. It was also the first video concert of Michael Schenker's I've ever seen live. So to actually have it on CD, and our friend on eBay, Wayne Heavy Metal Museum, that's where I got this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you want
Wow,
a
I
copy, go there. And
I need
yeah,
to hit him up. I need to get that. I have the
Yeah,
video
I've never-
from the Super Rock video with all the bands, compilation bands and stuff on it, you know.
mhm.
But yeah, it does sound good. Like I said, it's just hard to watch and look at Ray because he's just
Which is why I say just listen to it,
listen
don't watch
to
it.
And that was
Absolutely.
recorded in Japan.
That was at Super Rock Japan. Also on the bill were Scorpions, Bon Jovi, and Anvil.
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 That well, I know that about
Oh,
the Anvil. Quick
wow, what a
question.
White Snake was on it. Yeah, White Snake
Yes,
was
White
on the
Snake.
bill.
And
Huh.
again, killer because they had Cozy Powell, oddly
And
enough,
John
and
Sykes.
John Sykes.
So, question on that Michael Schenker lineup. So that was the Built to Destroy tour, correct?
It was the end of the Built to Destroy tour. It was after they recorded the Rock Will Never Die concert at Hammersmith.
So what happened to Gary Barden? I know that I had there's the live album that he released after that, Rock Will Never Die with Gary Barden, and the remastered. They mentioned that singer that you said, whatever his name is. I never heard of the guy. I never heard of the guy till I read that little booklet inside the remastered Rock Will Never Die. But it doesn't tell you why Gary Barden just fucked off. What happened?
Well, look, I mean, it's no secret Michael was high on coke and booze. He's not the easiest
Still
person to
is.
get along with.
Yeah, he's
Still not. And I say this, and he's one of my heroes, but I'm the first to admit it. The dude's nuts. And you know, I think Gary just got tired of the shit, and he just walked out. And Chrysalis said, "Okay, we're going to give you Ray Kennedy." I don't think it was Michael's recommendation because Ray Kennedy had a country pop background.
Well, Michael was managed by Lieber Krebs, so Ray was probably managed by them or something. It's all connected, and they probably just brought him in.
So it's the
So
first ever Sharon Van Halen type thing that they tried to do. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, did he do more than that one show, or was that it?
Yeah, he did the other 3 shows in Japan, and then he fucked off because Michael broke up.
Okay,
the
that was
band.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just never I didn't know anything until I read that booklet. Then I see you have this CD. I'm like, you know, I don't even think it's listed official biographies other than that.
It's not an official release. It's only
No, not the release. I'm talking about the mention of that vocalist that you
well,
mentioned.
he never recorded anything with Michael, so there was nothing. Michael never had to put anything out there because he never did anything. After this tour, he broke it up and he hooked up with Macaulay Schenker after mooching off Rudolph's couch for a couple of years, according to Rudolph.
Yeah, well, I believe Rudolph, but Macaulay Schenker was not my favorite. I'll leave it at that.
They had
And I mean-
some good songs, but Michael's his for solo material, his key stuff was the stuff that he did with Barden and with Graham Bonnet.
That Macaulay Schenker was wuss rock. And
I like it now, but when it first came out, I just wasn't into it. I was just like, this isn't what I want to hear from Michael Schenker. But I actually really like it now, especially the first album.
Greg, where would you put it on a Bad Company level, though? What's worse?
I like Bad Company a lot.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm sorry,
company.
I meant Bad English Journey with John Wayne.
Oh, batting. Honestly, if I had to, even though I like Macaulay's voice better, I would probably pick to listen to Bad English, because my biggest problem with Macaulay Schenker is, and that's why I find it interesting that Tony loves it now. Maybe I should try it again, but I just thought the songs were really poorly written. They were really boring. It just didn't do hardly anything for me. I mean, it wasn't
Okay.
Giafria like movie soundtrack background noise
Hey.
type bad, but
Sweet Victory is a great song, and don't you forget
I like AOR,
but it's like
rock
a soundtrack.
a lot. So I'm a
Yeah.
big AOR guy. So and that's really come into play over the last like 30 years or so as well. So
I like a good bit of it, but AOR is very similar to like what a lot of people call the glam, but I generally call sleaze rock, glam metal, whatever you want to call it. I mean, in any subgenre, you get very similar bands, but there's I always feel like there's a real big lack of imagination with a lot of the AOR bands. So some of it I love, but not very many like deep cuts for me. Generally, the most popular ones, except for Fast Boys Waiting for the Roar. That is an amazing record.
yeah, good.
Despite
good
Wayne's
stuff.
opinion on Fastway.
I like that album. I like that one. That one's good.
AOR was not, other than Foreigner and Journey and maybe Boston. I didn't care for it. I didn't care for that stuff till I got older, though. When I first heard Perfect Timing, I liked it okay, but I didn't appreciate the fact that he was going in that direction, Michael Schenker, which is funny because I was already listening to Bon Jovi, and Bon Jovi weren't exactly breaking the sound barrier, So I think about sometimes I would bitch about certain artists like Michael Schenker going more commercial. Well, at the same time I'm bitching about it, there's Bon Jovi in my record collection, so whatever.
But the worst thing about the Macaulay Schenker group was just Michael with the extensions in his hair and fucking Macaulay's
I forgot
that hairdo that Macaulay had that went up like a
It
mushroom.
looked like a wet poodle.
Yeah. Second album they kind of toned it down a little bit and it worked out.
I mean,
was better.
For me, they redeemed themselves with the third album because I think Neverending Nightmare is a really good ballad, and I can't stand
song.
ballads, but I love that one.
Yeah, it's a good song, it really is.
Manny.
All right, Queen
What?
Life Killers.
What was the you went?
No, didn't you go? Oh, no, sorry.
No,
Manny
Manny,
goes
then-
after me. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Manny.
Queen Life Killers. I love that album. Obviously, it's recorded over I don't know how many nights.
Yep.
I don't know if there's
Great
any
cover.
overdubs on it because it's not a consistent night. They would just pick whatever. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure they cobbled together two different performances for a couple songs because those guys are such perfectionists. God forbid they should allow a bum note or something, but I think it's a great live album, and I used to listen to it and imagine what it'd be like today, because that's one of those live albums that you really hear Freddie Mercury, how he has control of that audience. He's just got him in the palm of his hand. Everyone talks about Live Aid, which is amazing, but he was doing that the whole time.
Oh yeah.
I wish I had a time machine to see those early tours, but the band sounds amazing. But even on songs that aren't that well remembered, Dreamer's Ball, the audience is actually listening. It's amazing, 39, because a lot of these songs would be dropped as they became, Radio Gaga and other stuff became hits. But great stuff. And it was probably the last time they were that heavy as far as the live app, because it changed direction shortly after that.
The version of Spread Your Wings on here is so good.
Oh,
and I love the way they opened with We Will Rock You, the fast version. I love that version, man. Yeah.
And then they go into Let Me Entertain You. And I love the line.
Love that one. I love that too.
Yeah. Yeah, and that line that Freddie sings, we'll give you crazy performances, we'll give you grounds for divorce. It's just good stuff,
Yeah. What was it? Something we'll give you something a la carte. I forget the lyrics.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are. Jeff Scott Soto did a live album back in 2002 where he was doing songs from all his career, and he opens with "Let Me Entertain You" is what they do, and it's a really good live album there as well.
When did Queen start doing the "We Will Rock You"? Like the fast version. Like,
Well, they do both on this one, Stan. They actually
Yeah.
open with the fast version, and then later on they do the regular drum beat version into "We Are the Champions."
I just happened to hear it one time, and I never heard it before. I never heard him do a fast version before, and it threw me off. I was like, "Wow, this is amazing!" Like, when did he start?
It's a
doing
good
this?
show. It's a good show opener because I mean it's like they're coming out saying, "Okay, we're gonna rock you."
Well, Stan, they started doing that on the jazz tour, and they dropped it right after the actually they did it during the game tour. So I guess when they did the hot space tour, that was that. They dropped that version set. But that was the opening number for about 2 or 3 tours, Stan.
I saw them in Toronto with Paul Rogers back in, I think, 2006, and it was it was an awesome show. And for like I think a couple of the songs, they just like played a video of Freddie singing something. I think it was like, "We Are the Champions" or something else. I don't know. I don't remember, but it was it was a pretty awesome show though. Don't remember
I never-
hearing "We Will Rock You" like
Never saw
being
any
played
any
fast.
version. Wow.
All right, Wayne, your turn.
My turn. Halloween. And I'm gonna go with there's like 3 different versions of this, but I'm gonna go with live in the UK because they add the extra song "Rise and Fall" on there. But my first Halloween live album, and I love this one a lot because Michael Kiske singing on all the songs, and he does "How Many Tears," from Will Jericho, and it's probably my favorite version of that song, to be honest with you.
I got a bootleg of that great live album.
You got the whole set list on that?
No,
one?
it's just
Bootleg?
7 songs on it, I think.
Oh, okay, so why is it a bootleg?
Because it's not on any label. It's from Latin America and there's no label on it.
That's really
It's a bootleg copy I got from Discogs.
Very strange. This is easy to come by.
I Want Out Live, same thing, right?
I Want Out Live, the same thing. And what's the other one? Keepers Live, I think is the other name of it. They all have different covers too, I think too.
I have that version on CD like you have, and I have I Want Out Live on vinyl.
Yeah, I got them all. I got every one of them. But really good. I love the sound of that thing. I just wish they could have like did the whole show, but apparently the recording of the other songs that are not on this album, something happened, like one of the bass drums wasn't coming through or something, and the mix sucks, so they just didn't add them on. But apparently there's a version out there with all the songs on it. Maybe it's remixed, I don't know. But that's a good live album. Greg. Okay, Stan.
All right. So the next one I got, this is like one of probably my first introduction to live albums. I'm going with the AC/DC Live at Donington. It's a video.
Yeah.
And it's, like my parents had this on VHS way back in the day, and it was like the first time I saw AC/DC.
Mm-hmm.
And I never Chris fucking Slade playing the drums. Dude, I know people like Phil Rudd. I get it. But
I respect the hell out of Chris Slade.
How do you not love Chris Slade though? I mean, the guy is awesome.
Great drummer. And he
had
the side drums.
The side drums.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was just like so
bald.
He was he brought a lot of
like
energy to the band. And he's like obviously like really amped up and very animated and stuff, as opposed to like Phil Rudd, who just like you probably couldn't give a shit. I know like the actual album itself is different from the video. Because like the album's got like songs from like recorded at different parts.
That's right.
World and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I mean it's still really good. And I read that the DVD portion, the video, like has overdubs, but the actual CD does not.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's true or not, but in any case, like it's it's just like like the first time I got to see AC/DC, and the first time I saw like any like live footage really, and of any band, and it's I still have it. I still have the videotape, so it's like 30 years old right now.
Killer.
And yeah, it's like awesome set, awesome show,
It's
and
got a good set list, I think, right?
Yeah.
It was a great set list. Like if you never heard the Bon Scott era before this, like if all you knew was Back in Black and Who Made Who and
You shook me all night long. All the hits.
yeah, like if
Yeah.
that's all you knew and you didn't know any of the Bond stuff, this was a great gateway album to get you into it because it made me want to go back and dig into the classic material, which now has become my favorite era of AC/DC. But Stan, I agree with you. Chris Slade is a monster of a drummer, and it pains me that he gets so overlooked. But he's played with so many great bands. I mean, he's a journeyman drummer, so I don't
should
think
have
he's
stuck
hurting
with
for
him.
work. It wasn't him. It wasn't him. AC/DC wanted to get Phil back. It's like he was just, him and Simon were seat warmers until Phil came back.
Well,
Lou, did you ever see the clip of, I think it's on Midnight Special of Manfred Mann's Earth Band, and they're doing Blinded by the Light, of course, their hit.
And Chris Slade was the
And
drummer on that.
Chris is the drummer, and he's singing all the harmony vocals.
oh wow.
Watch it.
I need to see.
Yeah.
You know what my
Great-
introduction
great
to Chris
singer.
Slade was? My introduction to Chris Slade was the Radioactive video with The Firm, which
Mhm.
was
Yeah,
him, Jimmy
same,
Page,
same,
Paul
yeah.
Rogers, and Tony Franklin.
Yeah, he was Manfred Mann. He still had hair, and he was in Uriah Heep for one album. He did
The
the
one
Conquest album.
Mm.
Yeah. Which is the
The
worst
album-
album they ever made.
which is looked at as their worst album. Yeah, but it's a
Yeah.
couple of good songs on that record.
Dan, what I like about that album is the video. I have it on DVD now, but man, Chris Slade is just having a great time, and you can
Yeah.
tell. And there's a couple times then even stone-faced Malcolm Young's like, wow, he's just having a great time. There's one thing I will say about Brian doing the Bon Scott songs. What I like is at this point, he was comfortable in the role. He was no longer Bon Scott's shadow. He was in his own man. But he still performed the songs that respect his predecessor, but he made them not quite his own, but he made them his own style, while at the same time respecting the legacy of Bond. So I thought that was really cool. But man, Chris Slade, you could tell he's just having the time of his life up there. He's just fun to watch.
Probably the
You
best paycheck he ever made. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
for sure.
And probably the easiest gig because he's the guy can play anything. And I mean, he's adding little touches that Phil Rudd would have never done, but it works. What even amazes me is that Malcolm and Angus must have really liked him because, Simon Wright didn't get to do shit in AC/DC other than, play this,
And he did have
So-
him come back at some point, right? He came back for a little bit.
Yeah.
He
yeah.
came back
Yeah.
when
For
Paul
Axl
Rudd
Lisi.
got Paul Rudd when
Yeah,
Phil Rudd
Axl.
got arrested for trying to kill a guy over a bad drug deal.
Yeah. Yeah, he did the
Hey,
Axl
if you're
DC
gonna kill
tour.
someone,
Oh, those Kiwis, gotta love them. Anyways,
if you're gonna kill someone, at least that's a good reason.
if they don't provide you the Romanian prostitutes that you request, if they don't get you the yayo that you want when you request, yes, you have every right to kill them.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Lou.
I hope nobody takes me seriously with that. It's a joke.
Greg, we skipped you, so what do you got?
That's okay. I got to run here anyway. So I'm just, but well, I would have picked Tokyo Taste, but Tony already picked that.
No, I picked that one actually.
Who picked
Or
that?
Blue did. Zappa, Mothers, 1971, Fillmore East with the former members of the Turtles, the whole Flo and Eddie show where they do like one of the first
Flo and Eddie.
opera things live, which is just hilarious. And a great lineup for the Mothers too. You had Ainsley Dunbar in there on drums. It's a really good show overall, not just so much that it's funny, but Judas Priest Unleashed in the East. You guys will probably keep talking about that. That's fine. But that was the first Judas Priest album I ever had. I remember finding it in the records in the thrift store for 50 cents, by the way.
Wow.
Damn.
Yep. And
What a steal.
dude, the picture of them on the front door, I'm like, I was already in Iron Maiden, but I'm like, this looks awesome. It's like mysterious and the leather and the fog and everything. remember just staring at it as I'm riding my bike home feverishly with it. And yeah, that was awesome. Blue Oyster Cult's On Your Feet or On Your Knees. They were always been such a great live band. I love that record specifically because of the jazzier feeler approach to some of the songs. They really jam on that album. The songs are a little bit different, but it's pretty cool. And so, not technically an official release, but Black Sabbath on the Born Again tour. The name of the boot is Deep Black, but the radio broadcast from Worcester, Massachusetts in '84.
Great show. Yeah.
Great
Fucking
show.
kick
I think
Is that-
I mean, Sabbath always played loud live, but I think that is the absolute loudest I've ever heard them. And that is one of my favorite albums of all time. And I love Ian Gillan, but I will say on other boots I've heard, he didn't always sound 100% into singing the older Ozzy Sabbath songs. He does on that show. He gets really into it. That version of Children of the Grave is amazing.
Is that the one that's on the deluxe edition of Born Again?
No, that's the Reading Festival. A little
yeah.
bit shorter of a set list because it was a festival. They headlined at Worcester. So
I have a couple of versions that on bootleg, and that's a great. You notice that Gillan's voice is never the same after he did that tour, though.
Oh, he blew out his
yeah.
voice on the
he
record.
blew it out. Yeah, I mean, he just went nuts with it. He really went all in.
Yep.
He's never. Stop it, dog. Come on, man. It's like trying to do 3 different things at once right now. I'm losing my focus. And technically it was only a video, but I love this band. They're one of my favorites ever and true game changers in thrash metal. Coroner live in East Berlin. Amazing
have that.
show, amazing to watch and just listen to. Those guys were a nice little trio, such great musicians, and the way they approach playing, it's like literally a metal symphony. Yeah. All right.
Good job.
Good job, Greg.
Guys,
Good
have a
job,
good day.
Greg.
Bobby won a treat. Bobby won a treat.
Later, fellas.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Be about to catch.
Take care, man.
Tony.
Okay, he just mentioned it. Unleashed in the East from Judas Priest. That is an awesome shot there. That's the Japanese version that came out. It's called Priest in the East originally, but and it has
in the East.
has the bonus 7-inch with the extra songs that came over. They did. It was a side 4 or side 3 and 4 where they did Rock Forever, Delivering the Goods, Hellbent for Leather, and Starbreaker with the extra tracks. But just the original record as I had it, man, it's just so good, man. I love the version of Center on here. I mean, that is the definite best version of Green Manalishi. It just smokes the studio version.
Judas Priest, Ikiban, Subotai, Gojira.
And this is another one that was speculated for years, whether it was unleashed in the studio or what it was.
Who gives a damn? It sounds amazing.
It sounds amazing, and Rob finally has spoken in recent times and said the whole album was recorded live. He had a cold, and they went back into studio, and he redid all the vocal tracks live, straight through, like he was doing a concert.
Straight to
That's
one take.
live enough for me. Yep. Live enough for me.
One take. Wow,
One
that's
take.
freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yep.
Can we just talk? See here, Unleashed in the East is one of my choices too. And you know, these last couple of albums that I picked, you know, we had phenomenal drummers, Clive Burr. We had Chris Slate, and can we talk about Les fucking Binks?
Yes, he was my favorite Priest drummer.
Dude, the guy is
Scott Travis,
amazing.
huh?
He's a fucking machine. Just a
Who is not pictured because there is no
Who's not
drummer
pictured?
in this photo because they didn't have a drummer when they shot this photo. Another staged live photo, but it's so cool, man.
It is.
Yeah, there was some unfortunate drama that went on between Les Binks and the Priest camp around this, and I think he was booted out before the release of it.
Wow.
Personally, I think them getting Dave Holland was a step down. To have him after getting a true drumming genius like Simon. Who was the drummer?
Phillips.
Thank you, Simon
Phillips.
Phillips. You know, to have him on my favorite Priest album of the '70s, Sin After Sin, and then you get Les Binks as like your official guy. I mean, it's a shame that you couldn't have kept him. You know, I'm glad that they replaced Dave Holland with Scott Travis, but Les Binks deserves a lot more credit than he gets. And even though I can't stand the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, correct me if I'm wrong, he got inducted with them.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
he did.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever that award was that they gave them, it wasn't like a true induction.
It was like musical greatness or musical achievement, but that's what it means.
Thanks for
All right, I don't
participation
wanna-
participation award.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that stupid fucking piece of shit, garbage, asshole, filled hall.
That was
Manny, how do you really feel about me? No, just kidding.
Buzzing Fritz wants to know
Those elitists.
UFO live. Are you guys referring to Strangers in the Night?
No, there is a
Yes.
UFO live that came out before Schenker joined. I think
Yeah,
it was
it's called
either
live. Yeah, it's just
live
called
in Japan. Live in Japan with I think it's
Mick Bolton on guitar.
Mick Bolton on
Bolton.
guitar.
Yeah.
The Space Rock. Yeah, I had that. That was one of the early UFO recordings I ever picked up, and that was one of the
I
reasons
actually
I just
like it.
I don't know.
Well,
I
I
like
like
it now, but at the time I didn't care for it.
No, at the time I thought it was shitty, but now I like it. At the time I thought, man, I'm not high enough for this. So I just
I do like Boogie for George. I think that's actually like the only UFO song from the first two albums that they could have even played during the Schenker era, but that's not.
And they did it. They did it with Schenker. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Lou, your pick.
Okay, so I mean, I'm pretty sure Manny and Tony may mention this. I'm surprised Greg didn't, but I'm gonna say UFO Strangers in the Night.
Boy, you keep up with the
Because-
Scorpions there.
Well,
There we
I
go.
think it's a better live album than the Scorpions. This is one of my favorite albums. I realize it's a live album, but I don't care because it's like, the energy that Ron Nevison was able to capture. And yes, it has overdubs, but that's okay because when I listen to music, I want to listen to something produced well. Okay. I'm not like Eddie Trunk. I'm not a pretentious fat asshole that has to say, well, if it wasn't recorded live, then it's not live. Shut the fuck up, Eddie. Anyways, I'm sorry.
I
I
saw
can't.
that was Paul McCartney on the front of the album cover. by the
I
way.
thought it was Paul McCartney too,
Yeah.
but I can't stand a guy that makes fun of 1984's from Van Halen for having keyboards, but he champions the Sammy Hagar era. Go fuck yourself, Eddie Trunk. Anyway, but Strangers in the Night. It's just the only thing that I wish that that album would have had. It would have been cool to have heard the tracks that they did record. During the tour, they actually recorded On With the Action and Pack It Up and Go, but they didn't release it on either the official release, which is 12 songs, or the deluxe release, which was 15 songs. That would have been cool to have had on it, but that's okay because that box set is available still. It's not expensive, so people want it, they can have it. Own all the versions of Strangers in the Night because it's just worth it. I mean,
Yeah, I do.
Schenker's performance on Rock Bottom alone is worth the price of the CD.
There's a box set
Amazing.
with 5 albums or 5 CDs on it, which is I think is all the shows they recorded for it. Well,
That's the
think
one I
it's
was
like-
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think those songs are on there actually. Now that you bring
No.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah, they're included in that box set. Yeah, on one of the
Yeah,
some of the
it's-
recordings. Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
really
various
cool, Lou, but they include the original album but you listen to the stuff and you wonder what they overdub because they sound really good. I'm sure there's a few flops in there.
there were
by
a
the
few.
way-
There were a few things where they added some. There was one I forget which actual song it is where they went back and added a solo. It might have been Out on the Streets or something. It was something they went back and added a solo in that wasn't there originally. But I love the fact when they come out with before they came out with that box set, they put that deluxe CD out that was the songs were in the order where they played them. They opened with Hot and Ready,
Right.
and that's cool. but I still prefer listening to it open
Natural
with
Thing
Natural
first?
Thing. Because when he
Yeah.
says, will you please welcome from England UFO, and then it goes into that, you hear that screech, and then the guitar riff comes in. That's the way it should open. That's just the way I've heard it for so long.
I totally get that. Maybe it's just me because I listened to that 15 track deluxe edition because I wanted to hear every song that they didn't include on the original release. So I think that's probably the only reason why my bias is towards that 15 track one. But I mean, you really can't go wrong with either one, whether you get the regular
great.
version, the deluxe edition, or the box set. I mean, it's a perfect live recording, regardless if it was overdubbed or not. And fuck you, Eddie Trunk. Anyways, sorry, go ahead.
Manny.
All right. My next one is Deep Purple Made in Japan. I agree with Tony. I think it's amazing that for a double live album, there's only 5 tracks on it. So
The hell?
yeah. Well, it's because they play like 15 to 20 minutes a clip. Yeah. The very reason that probably a lot of people just don't like it is because of that, but that's why I like it, except for on Space Truck in the last song. They just lose the plot on that. There you can tell they didn't overdub because there's parts where you can tell Ian Pace has no idea where Richie Blackmore is going. Blackmore probably doesn't know what he's doing either. He's just fucking around. And poor Ian Gillan is like earning his paycheck by playing the congos, But yeah, the space trucking goes on for about 23 minutes and it falls apart in the middle. And somehow they pull it together because they're such great musicians. But I love the album, and it's definitely one of the most influential live albums of all time. And it's such a great album that even those snobs at Rolling Stone, those coke sniffing snobs of the 70s, even reluctantly gave it a thumbs up. Of course, they were high. Anyway, that's my.
I played Space Truckin' live, and the problem with that song is like, okay, when are we gonna end it? So I had to look at the drummer after doing it da 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 for like 5 times. I'm like, end the fucking thing already. So
maybe that was Blackmore's thinking, because in my opinion, it really just devolves into they're not even playing together at one point, and it's. But aside from Space Trucking, what starts out cool, I think it's a great live album, and definitely has a definitive version of Smoke on the Water on it.
I do like that.
Since we're talking about Deep Purple, I did get this the other day.
You got all the studio albums. I'm amazed.
1976. Yeah. Got that.
I'm shocked because I remember we did in Rock. You weren't impressed, so I'm really shocked you bought that.
Listen, Manny, I'm wrong sometimes, and I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. Okay.
Well, I tell you, you're wrong all the time, but I'm glad.
I'm not afraid to admit it, though.
All right, it happens. All right, who's next?
Me, Metallica. A huge Metallica fan when this album came out. The Black Album was my first album, so I know people hate the Black Album, whatever. I love the Black Album. And then hearing this and them doing a lot of the songs from Black Album and going back and doing a lot of the older songs, they did a lot of really good, live versions of the older songs too. A lot of really good set list. And hearing Jason Newsted sing on some of the songs too, it really, did something different to some of the older songs.
Is that the Seattle show?
This is this is Live Shit Binge and Purge.
The Seattle show was the
and
Justice for All tour. I think that was only on the video release.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Mexico City.
Okay.
Well, it's an
never heard
it. You don't own that? Tony?
You don't own the box set?
I own the videos
How about the
from
thing?
it, the DVDs, but I never had the CDs.
I get the CDs.
Oh, okay.
But I love this thing. I think it's really, really good. And I haven't listened to it in years because for some reason this isn't on any Spotify or anything. Any streaming.
It isn't?
I don't think so.
Wow.
It's not on Amazon.
Wow.
Definitely not.
This thing went platinum or something. Of course.
Unless there's some kind of thing with the record label. I don't know. But it's not on streaming. As far as I know, it's not on Amazon. So.
Wow, that's crazy.
Live Shit, Binge and Purge. Really good stuff like that.
Excellent.
Stan.
All right. So just to briefly go back to Unleashed in the East, because I had it on my list. I love the fact that Glenn and KK are so on fire on that album, and they're playing everything faster and heavier, and I
For
want to
sure.
say like Diamonds and Rust, like I know it's a cover and everything, but it sounds so fucking good on this album.
They
It's
make
my
it not
favorite.
sound like a cover. They make it sound like it's their own song.
It's their own song, and it's my favorite version of Diamonds and Rust on this album. So it's wonderful. We also touched on Worldwide Live by the Scorpions.
Hmm.
I like that album a lot too. But I got one more here. So along with AC/DC, this is one of the first things I heard, and that's Nirvana Unplugged.
Ah,
Oh, wow.
throwing an unplugged show in here.
So I was kind of reluctant to include this just because of how fucking depressing it is. I mean, it's it- I mean, like, talking to you, Wayne, is already depressing.
Oh,
Damn.
Just-
last time you're coming on this show.
I'm just messing with you. But no, but this Nirvana thing, I mean, it's like it's pretty obvious that like Kurt Cobain didn't even want to do this because it just sounds so.
It was weird to me because they didn't do like a lot of their own songs and they were doing other people's songs.
Yeah,
I'm like,
they're-
what the hell's going on here? And Kurt Cobain.
Some of them were covers, yeah, but uh, it was still interesting. Like it was the first time I ever heard like the Man Who Sold the World. I didn't know that
Right.
was a David Bowie song.
Me
Like
too.
I just thought it was a Nirvana tune,
Hmm.
and I really liked that song. So also like I was kind of like surprised like how well grunge songs seem to translate well into acoustic.
Hmm.
It just feels like it's just like a natural transition, like so yeah.
Yeah, because
I
it
don't know.
worked. It worked with Nirvana, it worked with Pearl Jam, worked with Stone Temple Pilots, and
Yeah.
a couple other bands too. But yeah, no, you're right.
But it's just so depressing, man. Like
It
it's
is.
like it's like, dude.
It's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Lou. I'll go after you.
No, I was gonna say, when I was living in the moment when Nirvana was the rage, I didn't appreciate it because that was, I guess you could say, my first foray into experiencing how media would try to consistently push bands in your face and be like, "Oh, these are so
Yeah.
this band is so good. You really need to be on top of this band." So I grew to resent that, and as a result, I hated Nirvana because of it. When Kurt did the deed, and all of a sudden, like everybody was in mourning. I admit maybe I was insensitive because I wasn't in mourning. However, 30 years later, I could look back and say, Kurt was chasing success. He wasn't chasing fame. Knowing what I know about him now, from everything that I've read to just realizing the kind of person he was through interviews and this and that, he wasn't trying to be the poster boy for grunge. He was just trying to be a songwriter and a musician and make a living from it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, his way of dealing with it was to chemically induce himself on a nightly basis. So I can look back and say, you know what? I feel bad for the guy. And I can now say, you know what? He was a good songwriter.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I had a similar. I liked Nirvana when they first. Well, I actually discovered with Nevermind. I didn't have in Bleach, so I don't want to. I was going to say when they first came out. That's not true. I discovered them with everyone else, but I got so sick of them. I remember they came to town, and this girl that I hung out with goes, "I got tickets. You want to go?" "No, I'll go see him next time." I was so sick of them. Even though I thought In Utero was brilliant, I was just sick of them. And I remember watching Unplugged when it first aired. And honestly, I didn't think twice about it. I thought it was a good performance, but I didn't focus on it. And after his death, it took on a whole different meaning to me. A whole different because I had a friend commit suicide a couple years prior. So when he died, the manner of his death bothered me, a lot because of that. And then I watch it and I get the songs he picked: Penny Royalty, I'm Anemic Royalty, Man Who Sold the World, which David Bowie wrote about his brother who went insane and later committed suicide. So, there's all this stuff that about it that took on a powerful meaning that perhaps that I certainly did not see the first time around, and I'm not going to say I did, but it's one of the most powerful live performances, in my opinion, that I've ever seen, ever. And maybe it's clouded by the manner of his death to me, why it makes it so powerful. But I think if his performance can be called beautiful, that would be one of them. I think it's excellent. The whole grunge thing or whatever, I don't give a fuck about that. Grunge killed this. Grunge didn't kill shit,
It's the next wave of what's popular.
Right.
Overexposure. It's always overexposure. That's the ultimate killer.
What was the name of it? What was the song that was on there? Was it called Lake of Fire?
Yeah,
that was a Meat Puppets cover. Yeah,
is that a cover?
Meat Puppets.
Yeah, it's a cover. Meat Puppets. Yeah.
So I never was really into Nirvana. I just heard the stuff on the radio. But that on the radio, the first time I ever heard it on the radio, I was like, wow, I've never heard this Nazareth song before.
Well, that last song that Cobain, Nirvana does is the Lead Belly song about the sunshine.
What did you sleep last night?
Yeah, and if you know anything about Lead Belly of the blues, it's Lead Belly. Before he became a successful blues musician, he had served time in jail for killing someone, which is funny. He becomes a beloved musician that's played on TV and, made TV appearances in a very conservative 50s special, being a black guy. But you listen to that song and it sounds like, very kind of happy, but lyrically it's a little dark, so interesting performance, interesting artist. And I don't compare Cobain to my favorite, Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison was self-destructive in a different kind of way, where Kurt Cobain, I think both men were very troubled men, but Kurt Cobain was, look, the manner of his death says it all. And he was he was troubled before he became famous. The worst thing that ever happened to him was to get famous. For us as fans, it's great. For him, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, interesting pick, Stan, and I'm 100% think it's excellent.
I do want to say just the live set was purposely designed to look like a funeral. So that makes it even more weird.
Well, like a Dia de los Muertos type thing?
What do you mean?
Like, was it meant to look like the Spanish Day of the Dead type?
I think so.
With the candles and the flowers, it struck me as that.
Yeah, it was just.
I've watched Coco enough times with my daughter to know what it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, but Stan's right. I had read it recently, and again, when the first time I saw it, I didn't think twice about it. And it wasn't until I read a biography about it, and whoever the MTV producer is, like Stan pointed out, he wanted to look like a funeral, and the producers were horrified, but they went along with it, because Nirvana were such a, huge act at that time.
Lou.
So we're wrapping it up soon. So some honorable mentions I want to throw out there. I know Greg picked On Your Feet or On Your Knees from BOC. I love that record, but I want to also give some love to Some Enchanted Evening and Extraterrestrial Live. But and I also want to give,
that was an honorable mention for me as well. Love that album cover.
And I want to also throw some love to Thin Lizzy's live life and the Philly live album, but I'm gonna go with Live and Dangerous.
That's my number one pick as well.
Which to me is like the fucking goat of live albums. I mean,
absolutely.
and it's weird for me to say that because I really love the Gary Moore lineup of Thin Lizzy the most. Would have been cool if they could have released a live album of the Black Rose tour, but we got Live and Dangerous, which has everything up until my favorite album from them, which is just perfect. I mean,
Yeah,
I hear Emerald and I'm like, oh, I'm Irish, in my heart, even though I'm not, but that's okay.
He's
I mean,
Irish from the waist down.
yeah. or gullet down to my stomach. Anyways, but
and that's not a fake live shot there either. That's not staged. That's just killer.
Yeah, I mean, Thin Lizzy for me is just such an iconic band. I mean, I have a reflective pick guard on my Strat because of Thin Lizzy. Because John Sykes had one on his Les Paul, and Phil had all reflective pick guards on all of his basses. And to hear the classic lineup with Robertson and Gorham on guitar, and just to hear Downey's punishing drums. Brian Downey does not get any love as a drummer, which I do not understand. I mean, here's this little Dublin boy playing like all these crazy beats, never missing a note. I mean,
and the swing, man, that swing is I mean, amazing.
To me, he should be up there with like the Bill Wards and the Stuart Copelands and the Carmine Appices and Tommy Aldridge and Neil Peart. He should be up there with them. Did I mention Stuart
Thin Lizzy
Copeland?
in general don't get the recognition they deserve. Just in general,
they don't, and I think that's because they were plagued with drug addiction. I think that was their biggest downfall. In the 70s it was cocaine, in the 80s it was heroin, and that's what took Phil out, which is a goddamn shame because it's like we lost Thin Lizzy, and as a result we got U2. We are fucked.
Well, I like U2, but Thin Lizzy was special to me. They're the greatest band that ever come out of Ireland. Period.
Absolutely.
Enough said.
Yeah.
Do you have any other albums, Lou?
I think I mentioned Scorpions. I mentioned Michael Schenker Group. I mentioned Thin Lizzy, UFO. I feel like I'm missing one. What?
No? Okay, good.
If it comes to me, I'll let you know.
All right. Let's kind of just like get this over with. Manny.
Okay.
What do you got left?
My two. All right, Jimi Hendrix Band of Gypsies, the third as a contractual obligation. It's a great album, recorded on New Year's Eve 1969 going to 1970. It was the final album of his lifetime. Short-lived lineup with all black lineup. Excellent album. And finally AC/DC If You Want Blood, much like the Queen live album. Bon Scott's charisma just comes through all the way on every track on there. Again, I supposedly Bon did some overdubs. I don't believe it because there's a live recording of Hollow, which is from that show. Yeah. And not only that, Bon was notorious for not liking doing too many takes, as John Mutt Lang found out when he worked with him.
Yeah, it's pretty much the Apollo show uncut. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they cut like The Rocker or something is cut, but and funny, a whole lot of Rosie's, 2 or 3 minutes on there, but it's great. But again, the band at its peak, and Bon Scott's charisma is just, you can even hear when he goes on stage, the whole audience starts screaming. And Bon was not a guy who moved around a lot, so that guy had to have charisma just pouring out of his every whatever. Mr. Cool. Anyway, those are my two, and I think you're up, Tone.
Well, my number one was going to be Live and Dangerous, and pretty much Lou said everything about it. I mean, it's just this is the album that really made me a Thin Lizzy fan. If I had to turn somebody on, I'd say, hey, if you want to hear Thin Lizzy, buy this album. This is what you got to hear. Just a few honorable mentions. You mentioned
that's all you have to do to turn somebody on.
Turn somebody on to Thin Lizzy.
Oh, okay.
Some Enchanted Evening. I remember buying this on cassette back when it first came out. Just loved it. Not when it first came out, when I first got it. I think it was my first Blue Oyster Cult record I ever bought. I was trying to get into, some of these metal bands and stuff. And well, these guys hard rock or what, and I just remember buying it out of like the discount bin and just loved it and have been a fan ever since. And Foghat Live. I mean, I had an 8 track.
Listen to a Foghat album. Ever.
Well, this is the only one you really need. I mean, this is just an amazing live album. It should have been a double album. Love the die cut cover with the live photos that would slide out.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was nice. And one I want to mention something more in the later days of metal, Candlemass Live, because this is the record that really made me a Candlemass fan, because I remember buying Nightfall when it was new, because I was reading reviews in the magazines, and I bought it and it just didn't catch me. I guess it was just too slow for me. I was all into thrash at the time. And I remember picking this up on cassette out of the cutout bin, probably like 1991 or something. And I was working a job. I used to always bring long cassettes, like double cassettes and live albums to listen, because I would have to change my cassette as much when we were on it. I was working in screen printing. And I brought that and I just got hooked. And I've been a fan ever since. It's such a great live record. And then, years later, they finally released the video footage to it. So you actually got to watch the show that I had heard for so many years. So that was pretty amazing as well.
Very cool. That's it.
I remember one more honorable mention. Rush's Exit Stage Left.
I was surprised you didn't mention Rush at all.
What about
slipped my mind?
What about
All the
Stan?
World's a Stage? All the World's a Stage is actually my favorite Rush album.
The reason why I picked Exit was because it has my favorite Rush song of all time, Xanadu, on it.
Well, that's an excellent song. What about Stan? Did he have anything else?
What else you got, Stan?
Honorable mention. Maybe Accept, Staying Alive.
Love that. That is great.
Oh, that's excellent.
Hey, I forgot one I had that was on CD, and that was the One More from the Road from Leonard Skinner. I love that as well. Great record.
By the way, Al invited me to go see Leonard Skinner tonight, and I wouldn't go because there would be more original members of Leonard Skinner in the car going there than are actually on stage.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, Ricky Medlock technically was an original member.
Great.
Yeah, I love that Accept record, Stan. That is just such a good live record, man. And they put that out on. I got that's out on video too. You can find that footage. Most of that.
I've never seen the video, but I remember as when I was a bit younger, like I was listening to that album, and I remember hearing that like really cool guitar solo that Wolf did, which is really it's awesome, dude. That guy is like one of the most like underrated guitar players ever. He kind of reminds me of Marty Friedman a bit. He's not that technical, but they both have this very
they're classically influenced.
Yeah. It's just amazing guitar player, and in my opinion, I know this is probably a controversial thing to say, but Wolf is Accept.
Why
would anyone deny that?
I know people are
agree.
On Udo's side and everything like that, but to me, it's Wolf's riffs at the end of the day. It says, it's a sound.
Udo's solo records don't sound like Accept.
No, they don't.
That's true.
But you know, though, Accept is one of the few bands where metal mitosis worked in its favor. I like Udo as much as I like Accept with Mark Tornillo. I'm more biased towards Accept with Mark Tornillo because Blood of the Nations was a sick fucking record.
How many reunion albums have you heard that sound as good as that album? That's
the only one.
Amazing.
The only other one that I could compare it to in terms of greatness for me, just for me, I would say would be Judas Priest, Angel of Retribution.
To me, Purple Perfect Strangers. To me, I would have to go that.
I keep forgetting that was a reunion album. You're right. Thank you.
And Udo has got the most metal of all names. Go ahead, Lou.
Two more mentions. I do love Alcatraz's Life Sentence, where it's Graham Bonnet with Yngwie. And Manny, I respect what you said about Made in Japan from Deep Purple. I'm gonna go a different route though. The Cal Jam 74 concert with Coverdale, because
Excellent.
that live version of Burn is god
amazing.
tier.
Amazing. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's-
And at the end where he blows up a $20,000 camera.
Yeah, that
I know that's
Yeah.
great.
yeah, that's some good stuff. Do you know that Alcatraz when you mentioned Lou? Have you got the whole extended version, the whole show? It came out a few years ago. It's a double
Yeah.
LP live in Japan.
I think the full version is actually available on Apple Music.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was a full version.
It's the full show because they said that when they're doing all night long, Yngwie steps on his cord and pulls it out, and you don't hear the guitar playing, and Graham's cracking up. Yeah.
Well, he wasn't wireless by that point. He was still using a cable, but you know, they actually did some interesting versions. They did Night Games from Graham's solo output.
Yeah,
They did Desert Song, which was a Michael Schenker group song.
Yes, amazing. Yes,
you know, it was good to hear those tracks. There's so many great live albums out there that have been completely overlooked because people are just like, it's live stuff. Man, live music's where it's at.
I think they do Lost. They do Lost in Hollywood too.
They do Lost in Hollywood. They do.
Oh.
Yes, they did do that.
I have one honorable mention: the Doors, "The Life She Cried," which is now in concert. But what's interesting about that is what Tony mentioned about Ozzy Osbourne, Speak of the Devil, where they will go and record something live on stage. So Paul Rothchild convinced the Doors to record without an audience at the Aquarius. They got through one song, their version of Gloria, which has been a single, which you hear. And the reason they get through to that, because Jim, when he found out they were recording it, he left because Jim never showed up for sound checks. He goes, that's a ripoff. Then the kids will think we're playing in front of people, and he left. So that's why you only have Gloria. And they claim it is live, but you know, not totally. It's from a sound check. So that's
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad that Tony did pick Speak of the Devil, but I'm surprised nobody picked Tribute.
Well, dude, we only have so much time, you know.
But I did pick. I wasn't even done yet, man. You just let everybody else go ahead of me. But I did pick this one,
Live and Loud.
Live and Loud. I really like this one a lot. Yes.
Wow, I'm
good.
It is good.
It is good.
But
I don't want to change
It's
the
great.
world. It's my favorite version of that song.
And it's awesome packaging with the
I love-
real.
yeah, with the
It's
real.
got a real grill, speaker
yeah.
grill on it. Yeah, I've got the VHS, and it came in a box like that with a speaker grill on it. That's
I got
pretty cool.
I got this version, and I got the other one where they have that stupid little small picture like the other remasters they did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I wanted this one because it was cool.
Hey Wayne, was
a
that
good
your
one.
first Ozzy live album?
That is my first live Ozzy album. Yes.
Okay.
Stan, did you have any other albums that you wanted to mention?
No, I think that's it for
Okay.
me.
All right, shut up now, Lou.
Well, I think the Just Say Ozzy EP is just a little better than Live and Loud, but Live and Loud's a good one.
Yeah, no, there's some good songs on there too. But this
But-
one, I'm more familiar with this one because this is what started.
You know, I think it's just because Live and Just Say Ozzy actually has my favorite version of War Pigs on it, so that's a killer one. But yeah, that and Ozzy Tribute.
Wait a minute.
To Randy.
Hold on.
Wow, live E EP.
Rainbow
On stage?
live in Germany. It's got the best version of Mistreated. That Ronnie James Dio was singing it, and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. He could
was-
sing the shit out of it, man.
I'm glad you picked that one because it was so hard for me to pick a rainbow one because you know the one at Donington in 1980. You know, as much as I like it, and I love Graham Bonnet, he can't sing Stargazer the way Ronnie can.
Nah.
No, of course not.
Well, nobody can.
Yeah.
I like Final Vinyl because you get the best of all the singers live on that one.
Yeah, that was cool. I like On Stage simply because it's the first one I bought, you know. Again, what do you get? 4 songs over 70 minutes or something, but
I was
But
trying
the-
to segue into when Lou, when you mentioned your favorite version of War Pigs, I was trying to segue into that. But my favorite version of War Pigs was Faith No More live at the Brixton Academy.
You mean where Mike Patton
Mike
goes ahead and
Patton forgets
replaces
the words. Yes, yes, and he did do that.
Yeah, well, they do a great version of that.
Queensryche Live Evolution, I thought was really good. This is like a best of. It is all the really great songs on here.
Really, you picked that over Live Crime?
Yeah, this is better because this is like
Oh.
everything. This is everything, and they did a really good job. Doesn't have Chris DeGarmo. Didn't really even need it. They sound good anyway. Iron Maiden Rock and Rio is a really good one.
Oh, I like that actually a little bit better than
'Cause they
Live
play a lot of
After Death.
the Brave New World songs on here. And
Yeah.
I saw that tour too at Madison Square Garden. And,
One question:
So
Doesn't
did
it
I.
doesn't
there.
it sound like in Wicker Man, like one of the guitars, I think, but it sounds like it's going through a tube.
I don't know. I don't remember. I haven't-
It just sounds weird, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, a great performance from the band on that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
a lot of
I
really
like
good
the
songs to
DVD.
pick.
Watching the DVD. That's really good.
And one of the albums that you mentioned by accident, Lou, Tokyo Tales by Blind Guardian. I'm done now.
All right, so am I. I got to get the fuck out of here.
It's a long
Yeah,
show.
time to go
Yeah.
to sleep. Yeah,
Yeah,
hey, it was fun,
great
fun guys.
meeting you, man.
But we held
Thank-
the
Yeah.
people watching. It was like 15
Yeah.
people watching, so it was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yep, thanks.
Dan, it was great meeting you, dude.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's great
Yeah,
meeting you
thanks.
guys.
Yeah, good to meet you, Stan. Yeah, thanks for having me. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be on.
Yeah, I don't know
won't
what
be
we're
on
doing.
if
I don't
you
know.
guys are-
I don't know
Aren't
what
you
we're
guys
doing
interviewing
tomorrow.
somebody?
No, I don't either. I have no idea. No idea. What
No, we're trying to set up an interview with someone that's just taking a little long, and then we're waiting for Count Ralphus to come back so we can do the 7-inch single.
They said
we're gonna show
condolences to Ralph's father, by the way.
Count Ralphus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
that-
Um,
So there's no
Well,
interview
just-
tomorrow with that dude, whoever it was from Slade.
No, not yet. Not yet. It's working. We're working on it. So,
All right, all right, we'll talk about what Ralph's doing tomorrow. All right.
yeah.
All right, guys.
Good night. Just
All right.
want to plug real quick. Again, new Severed Angel album coming. Am I frozen again?
No,
No,
No.
Okay, good. It's new set because you guys look so still.
we're
It's
just
amazing.
so intent on what you want to say. Go ahead.
New
We're
Severed Angel album
waiting.
coming. There you go. New Severed Angel album coming out March 28th on No Life to Mother Records. When Eternity Ends. Pre-order it over at severedangel.com. Go to our link tree, which is just Severed Angel, so you can pick up a copy either on Amazon or Target or what have you. First video is already out. Through the Eyes of Time, directed by Mr. Stan. Thank you again. Next video is coming out the day of the album, which is March 28th. That video is going to be Cry Out to the World, again, directed by Stan. And yeah, it's a great record.
Yeah, it's
Buy a copy.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Stan, you
Will
got anything
do.
going on? You got any shows coming up? You gonna be anywhere?
Nope.
All right. Great.
Well, actually, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be seeing Dream Theater at Radio City later
Oh.
this month.
Bring your earplugs when James opens his mouth.
I hope he,
Shut the
I hope he
fuck up,
holds
Lou.
up.
Shut
Ooh,
the
James,
fuck up.
he can't do it anymore.
Sounds fine.
Let's
I don't
let's
know,
hope he makes it. Let's hope he makes it.
Let's hope he makes it. And what about you? Your Rock Fantasy Files, Tony? What do you got coming up? Anything?
The next Rock Fantasy Files, I think we're doing a 5-way or something, a full-way album battle from 1985. I think it was Metal Heart, Rock You to Hell, and Thunder in the East, and one other. This kind of escapes me right this second. But anyhow, that'll probably be Monday or Tuesday when we do that.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank you so much for everybody watching the show. I had a lot of fun, and I liked all the people talking in the chat here as well. And Michael Lynch, Ozzy live was great from Diary. Yes, it was. All right. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. Hit subscribe and have a good night. Bye.
Cheers.
Later.